Dear Excellencies, dear ladies and gentlemen, and dear friends, I will just make some short remarks and comments, so I wouldn't have any kind of presentation, and I will use English to save the time, because we are a bit out of the time nowadays. So it's definitely my pleasure to be here in Tasavallan at CIMA Summit definitely for the second time, and I would like to use the opportunity to thank the host and organizers for the kind invitation. And yesterday, midnight firework was really refreshment after a long car road from Petrozavodsk to Tasavallan. So that was an event. And well, let me make some short and brief remarks on behalf of the Republic of Karelia, only on maybe one of the aspects of our cooperation. And I would like to say that, and to start from reminding you that the Karelian part of the Russian-Finnish border is more than 700 kilometers. So that definitely means that the cross-border cooperation is nowadays an integral part of the everyday life of quite many institutions, including the authorities, the local authorities, universities, companies, and definitely the ordinary people as such. So, and starting from the 90s, I think that hundreds of the joint cross-border projects were realized under the Finnish-Russian neighboring area cooperation programs, under TASIS, under other programs, but maybe what is more important, it is definitely about the B2B contacts and contracts in pulp and paper industry, in forestry, mining, and nowadays it's more and more about the IT sector. But definitely the tourism is one of the sectors that still has a great potential for the development, especially taking into account the cross-border cooperation aspects and the factor of the border, definitely. We pay a great attention to the tourist development on the both sides of the border in our regions and in our countries. When it comes to the Republic of Karelia, I would like to mention that the Karelia in the Russian Federation is in top 3 when it comes to the so-called active tourism, and we definitely have hundreds of thousands of people coming to the Republic to visit the well-known world tourist destinations like Kije, Valam, Solovetsky Island, going just to rafting, downhill skiing, and so on. And that is why we definitely pay very great attention to the sector development. And quite recently, the State Committee on the Tourism Development was re-established, and nowadays we are working on the development of the so-called program of the socio-economic development of the Republic of Karelia up to 2020. That means the combination of the private investments and the Republican budget money and the federal money, and the tourism development will take quite a big part in that program of the socio-economic development. That also means the development of several tourist clusters on the territory, and one of the clusters that will have quite a big, let's say, importance and attention will be the tourist cluster alongside and around the Ladoga Lake, actually. So we definitely have a lot to do together, and how to work together and to think how we can combine our resources and how we can develop the fruitful, mutually benefits out of that cooperation. And taking that into account, definitely the development of the border crossing infrastructure has maybe, let's say, maybe the crucial importance. It's a true strong word, but definitely the cross-border infrastructure has really plays a really important role when it comes to the tourist development as well. Alongside with the other issues like visa facilitations and so on. So the Suivora-Parikalo border crossing point was mentioned today several times, but quite a lot of people here knows that the idea has its own history, and that is just quite a long history by now. But for many years, the most serious obstacle stressed by our Finnish colleagues as an obstacle for the development of the border crossing point was it was mentioned that the absence of the road infrastructure on the Russian side. And today, Mr. Valery Schlamen already mentioned that we are now in the situation when this bottleneck or this obstacle is just several steps from being resolved. And the highway from Pietari via Lahdenpohja, Sortavala to Petroskoi is under the intensive construction, and that road is the federal road with a federal budget funding. That means some kind of serious guarantee that the project will be resolved in the due quality and due time. On the other hand, the 28 kilometers road, Ihala, Ravio, Suivoro, that is on the border. That was not actually the road even a year ago. It was the Russian road like a destination, and definitely that road, that destination will become quite a good road by the end of this year. And the construction of this road, the construction of this just 28 kilometers is definitely a very good example of our interregional cooperation, because while working with that project, we used we used the resources of the Russia, EU, ENPI, CBC programs, combining the resources actually of the two programs, that Southeast Finland Russia program and Karelia ENPI CBC program. That was not possible maybe several years ago, but definitely it proves also that the project is very important for many regions around that particular border crossing point. And another thing that I would like to mention in that respect is that the investments from different sources were used, but when it comes to the investments from the budget of the Republic of Karelia, it was more than twice more than the resources provided us from the Russian Federation budget and the EU budget. That also means that we definitely take our words seriously, and we are trying to, and we are fulfilling our promises and obligations, and we're definitely very serious in our attempts to finalize the project on establishing of the new status on the existing border crossing point, Suivora-Parikalo. And nowadays we are working quite close with the respectful federal authorities, that is Rosgranica, for example, when it comes to the reserving of the needed funds from the federal budget for the reconstruction of the infrastructure of this existing border crossing point, the infrastructure that is needed so that the infrastructure will meet the requirements of the new status of the border crossing point. And there are several possibilities. Either we will be using the resources of the coming federal project on the socio-economic development of the Republic of Karelia, or another serious programs on the Russian side. And what is okay. And what is definitely also obvious is that we are now definitely drafting some kind of a new versions of the feasibility study when it comes to the establishing of the new status of the border crossing point. And the drafts of the feasibility study shows that the Suivora-Parikalo border crossing point has a great importance not only for the Russian Karelia or the closest Finnish regions, but definitely it will influence in a good way for also the other regions like Leningrad Oblast and St. Petersburg on the Russian side, and it is definitely not only about the southern Karelia or southern Sava. It's definitely the project that will benefit also the northern Karelia and even northern and eastern northern parts of Finland, so that quite a lot of tourists and people will come from St. Petersburg to the area. And it is definitely not only about tourism, but I do not have enough time to speculate on that. Definitely we are working with that project together, and I can assure you that we will continue that. And for us, the words of the minister today concerning that the idea of the border crossing point is still on track, and that words and that will give us more efforts to continue that. Thank you.